was out to get me. That's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. I thought love was more or less a given thing. Seems the more I gave, the less I got. What's the use in trying? And all you get is pain. When I needed sunshine, I got rain. Oh, then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried.
All right, hi, and welcome to another episode of the Brew Crew Review. I've got some special guests here today. Over to my right is we've got Chad, who's new to the show, first time, and we've got Brian.
Welcome back.
Hey.
And Scott over to my left.
Yo.
And I'm Craig, and we're here to talk about the Brewers. Now, let's start off by saying we did this, our first ever episode of this show, a few weeks back. It was about middle of July, just after the All-Star break, and we did our first half review. And at that time, Brewer Fever was we still had a little bit of it. But since that show, and hopefully it wasn't the show that jinxed our fortunes, but their fortunes have taken a drastic turn to the worse. So basically, what's going on? What's wrong with the Brewers? They've lost an alarming amount of games since the All-Star break, and they're pretty much out of contention. And now it's looking very like it's going to be a struggle to even get to 500. So, what do you guys think?
It's the same thing it was before. We're still not hitting. We can't get runners in scoring position. We get them there. We can't get them in. There's absolutely no home run power on this team at all. And the pitching is still, we've been getting it behind smoke and mirrors a little bit, but now Santos is being exposed. Capiano's still pitching great. Sheets has taken kind of a little dive lately.
Santos has only had one bad outing, though, since the break.
Yeah, he's not looking fantastic.
No.
And
he never was fantastic.
Sheets is looking like he's not going to be able to carry us quite like he was before. The area is over 5 since the
He
break
looks
now,
like
isn't it?
human now.
I guess everyone that's been a collective, everyone's been doing worse. I mean,
Overbay,
cold, too.
Overbay can't hit.
Jenkins still can't hit like all year.
Posednik can't
basically.
hit.
I don't know.
Brady Clark's kind of a stud lately. I don't know what's that going on there. He's actually looking like he knows what he's doing in right field. And Ben Greaves all of a sudden hitting for power. So I guess all the guys that couldn't hit before are, and all the guys that were really carrying us are useless.
That's the problem.
I'd say so.
Chad, what do you think?
Well, basically, the year of the Brewer offense has really, really been average at best, and the pitching staff has carried them all the way through. Now the pitching is faltering, especially the bullpen. The bullpen has just been really not hanging in there at all. The starters are faltering a little. Ben Sheets, as Brian said, is not doing as good of a job. Runners in scoring position, we can't get them in. I think they're batting under 200 since the All-Star break. And also, the Central Division is a very tough division as well, playing very tough teams as St. Louis, Houston, Cubs. It's a hard division to play, and all those games are going in that division. So just a combination of things. And the pitching has been saving the Brewers' offense all year, and now that the pitching's faltering, things are starting to show up now. I don't know.
I thought we caught a breath of fresh air when we sent Matt Kinney packing, but then we were blessed with the return of Wes Obermiller, who really showed his colors once again on Saturday night. So I guess that's still a useless position. And now we're at the problem where we used to have guys who could just jump in and start, but now we have a hard time filling a fifth starter spot. So I don't know if that's how much that's going to hold us back in the future, but
Yeah. Well, okay, at the All-Star break, we were, I believe, 4 games above 500, and now we're not. we're several games under 500. Hopefully, okay, so do you think we can turn it around and at least make the huge step of maybe finishing 500, or is that really going to be an effort now, an uphill battle, if it's even possible?
that's too much to ask at this point. I don't think we can actually do it. I think we're going to end up about 70, 75 wins now. Just because I think we're going to continue. We just don't have the series. We're not going to be able to sweep the series like we need to be doing. Like the Mets series, that's a team that we need to be beating. They're about the same as we are, middle of the road. And we don't get a whole lot of breaks. We get the Pirates, but they kill us. We have the Cubs still. We still have to play the Cardinals a couple more times. The Astros.
That's
the
got a
Giants,
lot better
too.
at the trade deadline, though. We did nothing.
We did something. We'll talk about that a little later.
But I mean, overall, it's maybe I kind of thought this all year that we were kind of overachieving in the first half. But it was a good thing. It got all the fans excited. People were coming out to the stadium. Our attendance figures, I think, are going to end up exceeding expectations. And I think overall our record will still exceed expectations. 'Cause I think coming into this year, we got rid of Sexton, we got a bunch of players in return to add depth, whatever. But I think that they knew our offenses might be lacking coming into the season a little bit. And also our pitching beyond Sheets was kind of hit or miss probably, but it was fantastic in the first half. And now I think they're kind of showing their true colors. Even Sheets has come back down to earth. So we went from the first half having like a true ace and then a very solid 2 through 4 in the rotation with only 5 being questionable to everyone questionable at this point.
Well, even with the starters, though, since the All-Star break, it says we've been averaging like 2.66 runs a game. I mean, no matter who's pitching, I don't care if it's Ben Sheets, whoever, if it's Pedro Martinez, Kurt Schilling, Randy Johnson, if you're scoring 2.66 runs a game, you're not going to win regardless. And offense has to just come through. People like Jenkins, people like Pasednik, people that you really relied on, people from last year just are not getting the job done, not carrying it over. You can't rely on people like Lyle Overbay the whole year to carry it the whole year. You can't rely on someone like Russell Brandon to just step in and carry his team on their back. Craig Counsell, marginal offensive player at best, has a lot of good intangibles, but you can't rely on people like these to just carry the whole load and make yourself a playoff contender. It just can't happen. We need the big stars to come through. Jenkins, Pasednik. Helms has been brutal. Brutal. Just fielding, hitting, awful. I mean, well, what can you do? There's not much you can do. If you're only scoring 2.66 runs a game, you're not going to win. If you're the Yankees, if you're the Red Sox, if you're anyone, you're not going to win. It's just that plain and simple. We need the offense to get going.
So basically the problem is we need to be creating runs, and the guys aren't getting hits once we try to create a run. We have nobody who can just get with one swing of the bat, catch us up in ball games anymore. It's really a hopeless proposition.
It seems like the only time I see us score more than like 3 runs a game is when we're already down like by 6-0. And we'll come back and score 5.
Yeah, when it's already pointless. The Jose Hernandez homers.
Yeah. Home runs during garbage time.
So, I mean, the offense has definitely been the problem. And we've been waiting all years for Jenkins to pick it up. But if we're not scoring at all, that means people just aren't getting on base. Because Overbay, of course, is coming back up down to earth a little bit, but he's still hitting like, what, 320, 330?
He's still 10th in the league right now, as we're speaking. So,
I mean, if guys would be on base when he gets up, we should have a lot more runs, but that's not happening. Jenkins doesn't have a high on-base percentage. Pasednik has kind of changed the type of player he is this year, and I think that's really hurt us. I mean, he's hit for a little bit more power, but his on-base average went way down. When he gets on base, he's great, percentage-wise.
He's even getting caught
steals.
more now, too.
Yeah.
He started out, he stole his
Like
first 30
34
bases.
37 or something.
Yeah, now he's gotten caught 9 times already, so.
Oh, yeah, so that's not good either. so all those factors really add up to us just not being able to score runs. And then there's just overall on the offense thing, just haven't been able to basically, get it going at all.
well, here in the journal, runners in scoring position, we're batting 179 with runners in scoring position. I mean, you can't get it done. Lots of games only have 3 hits as it is, and when we finally do get some runners on, if you're batting 179, I mean, you cannot score runs doing that. And we don't have the home run power, like you said,
Is
to
that
just get runs in
179?
naturally. We have to put them in bunches, and without home run power, if you're batting 179, you just can't do anything.
Is that 179 for the year or since the All-Star
Since
break?
the All-Star break, but that was
I even heard there was a
last
stretch
week.
of about 10 games at
We were
in
like
the end
3
of
for
July
60.
where we were
Yeah.
like 4 for 76 with runners in scoring position, which would translate into about bad.
Well, I think that some of the blame has to go on Ned Yost for his lineup selections recently. If you look, the cleanup hitter in a lot of these games has been Wes Helms. He put Russ Brandon there for a few games. I understand he's trying to put a charge on some of these guys' bats that haven't been going, but if you're putting Lyle Overbay in the 5-hole, there's not going to be anybody on base with the guy at the 4-hole striking out or popping up. Which, I mean, you have Russ Brandon as a typical 6-7 hitter. You have Wes Helms, who should be nowhere to be seen, batting in the 4-hole. How is that going to lead to a better
I think what
offense?
he's trying to do is he's taking the slumping players like Jenkins, like Helms, and he's putting them in front of Overbay, thinking, you know what? They don't want to be they don't want these guys on base, or the opponent doesn't want them on base when Overbay's up, so they're going to pitch to him, and they are, and they're getting out.
Well, I know they're trying to get him fastballs, but if you really need Lyle Overbay, we have very, very few run producers. And I guess if they're trying to manufacture a run producer just by, manipulating the lineup a little bit, but it's not working. So I don't.
There's just too many people underachieving, and like I don't know. I don't want to keep pointing out Jenkins, but he really has not
No, you
just
can keep
come
pointing
around.
out Jenkins.
I mean, but beyond that, I think we're missing certain gears in order to really. Like, do you ever notice us getting rallies? Do we ever have like 4 to 5 run innings? No, we don't rally because we don't consistently hit. I guess that's the main problem. But I think that there's a few main pieces missing, and I think right before the All-Star break or toward the end of June, we were really starting to score more consistently for the first time all year. And I really thought it was because Spivey had started to come around, and that he had changed the lineup to have Spivey hit it in this 2-hole. And he batted, then Jenkins and Overbay, and I thought that lineup worked much better and but much better. He put Council down eighth, and where we need a guy like him to be situational, move guys over, do the little things that he does. So I thought that lineup was clicking finally, but then Spivey got hurt, and I was hoping he'd come back and re-spark the offense in some way, and now he's out for the year, so that's just more bad news for the Brew Crew.
Let's also mention, too, it seems like the defense is getting a lot worse, too, as a team. I mean, Thursday's game against the Mets was absolutely sloppy. Wes Helms has just not been fielding the position. Bill Hall, I believe, has at least 13 errors right now on limited duty. The team defensively is playing a lot worse, too. This is a team that, and not only are we scoring, but we're giving them extra outs an inning. You can't give teams 4 or 5 outs an inning, as we've been doing lately. Hurt us Thursday afternoon against the Mets. I think there was 2 outs. We had 2 errors right away, and then they exploded for like 4 runs, and that's basically the difference of the game. So if you can't play defense and you can't hit, I don't care. The pitching, you can't blame too much on it, but it's a formula for disaster right now.
The other thing, too, is when we first started at the beginning of the year, we'd be down 5-0, and people would say, you know what, it's 5-0, but we can come back. I mean, this offense could do it, and they did it, and they did it routinely.
Red,
they did
yeah.
it consistently,
Expos.
all the time, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And now, if we get down 5-0, I'm like, close the book, we're done. It's just.
Well, but it's because of we can't score that many runs.
But we used to be able to. I don't know what happened. I mean,
Well,
maybe it is with
people
Spivey.
aren't hitting. I don't. There's not just one answer. It's a combination of so many people underachieving, and then also kind of the pitching coming back down to earth. And this is what I feared would happen, but it happened pretty quickly. I was hoping it'd be a gradual thing, and we could stay a little bit more positive around 500 for as long as possible. But it just didn't happen. So okay, well then going back to the fact that we're gonna have to accept the fact that we're gonna really have to be lucky to finish 500 at this point, and that would have been a step. But I think we're still over at the end of the season. I think if we're going to overachieve our early expectations of how many wins we're going to make, because we're going to end up with, because this was supposed to be a rebuilding year. We've got prospects in the minors, and they're supposed to be coming up to help, but not quite. They're not ready, of course. So this is going to be a rebuilding year. But I think overall, if we're going to look back, it's going to be like a roller coaster ride where it was up and now it's going down. But I think that overall, at the end of the year, I think we're going to be able to say they're heading in the right direction. So
We've caught a couple good breaks. Now we have Chris Capuano's looked like he's completely worth the effort getting him.
Yeah.
Doug Davis established himself as a pretty good left-handed starter.
And we did sign Doug Davis for a 2
We
year,
signed him,
2 years,
yes.
so that was a quality move by Melvin, because knowing that he's been solid the whole first half, but you can't pitchers that are that consistent for the most part. You can't.
No, you can't.
We need a solid 2 guy like that, and so that's going to help.
And again,
out.
the pitching is great, but I wish Doug Melvin would have made one move as far as offense goes, just to get us excited. Attendance is up. It may even hit 2 million this year, which is way above expectations. I wish he could have just signed a guy at All-Star break, someone like Ruben Sierra, someone in right field, someone that can give us some power, just to generate our offense. Yeah, the pitching is there, but again, we're just not scoring runs. If we could have just got one little guy to give us a spark, Russell Brandy now may be a good idea. But just before the break, we could have just made one little move, not an expensive move, not a blockbuster move, but just something that could have got the offense just a little spark, either at third base or right field, somewhere in those power areas that we need, maybe even a catcher. I don't know, but just something that we could have did to get our offense just a little more of a spark. But apparently we just
I agree. I think they must have wanted the philosophy. Okay, it's working for most of it. Let's not fix it if it's not broken. Let's go with the same direction and not try to stir up the kettle, and the wheels might fall off, but they did anyway. So, but all right. Well, we'll come back. We'll take a short break right now. We'll come back. And we'll talk a little bit about the pre-trade deadline moves by Melvin and maybe any other ones in baseball that might have sparked some interest. But we'll take a little break now, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about that.
I thought love was only true in fairy tales, and for someone else, but not for me.
All right, welcome back to the Brew Crew Review. Our next topic we're going to talk about is the trading deadline's already here and gone. It's passed, and the Brewers made very few moves. And let's talk about the one kind of move they did make, and whether or not that's worked out at us for it all. Anyway, the one move Melvin made the week of the All-Star break was he basically traded cash, which is always valuable, but he traded that and not a player, which is a good thing, to the Indians for Russ Branyan, who's kind of been a career minor leaguer in some sense. He's still young, I believe he's 26 or, and but anyway, he's kind of, let's put it this way, I would call him a left-handed version of Rob Deere, who can play third base and right field. So basically, a guy who strikes out a lot, has got tremendous power, but doesn't have a very good handle on the strike zone at all. However, and anyway, what do you guys think about this move by Melvin? Is it going to spark us at all, or is it good for long term? Was it meant for this year, or was it a good move?
Well, I love Russ Brandon. I was so excited we got him. I finally have a favorite Brewer to cheer for again. He's the exact same thing that we absolutely need to have on our team. But he's exactly what we needed. We needed a guy who has some pop, who can actually finish. He could actually start a rally by himself. I mean, you have guys on base, 3-run homer. That's something we haven't been able to do this year. He's a prototypical 6 or 7 hitter, so we don't have Gary Bennett batting with guys in scoring position anymore. We have a guy who can clear the base at the 6 or 7 spot. I think it's an amazing pickup.
Well, I just think about Russ Branyan. I mean, to me, it's like what the hell kind of move. I mean, Wes Helms has been brutal at best. He has no power numbers. He can't field anymore. The guy can't even walk. He slipped and fell and hurt himself in Puerto Rico. So, I mean, if he can't hit, field, or walk, I mean, you might as well get anyone. And Russ Branyan, maybe he can be one of those guys like Doug Melvin has thrived on, why I think he should be executive of the year. A guy like that, he got like Pasednik. Granted, Pasednik is slipping, but he just got a diamond in the rough there. A guy like Dan Kolb that he picked up, diamond in the rough, now an all-star, and hopefully an all-star for years to come. And like Doug Davis, so why not Russell Brandon? Maybe Russell Brandon can be a guy that just even gets into the mold. It's a hit or miss. It's really a no-lose situation because anything over Wes Helms right now is by far an improvement. And Russell Brandon, like you said, could bring excitement, could bring some spark to the team. I don't know what kind of fielder he is, but the way Wes Helms is fielding, he's made some good plays already, so why not? Why not Russell Brandon? You can't hurt him. Maybe it is a diamond in the rough, so I think it's a good move.
I mean, I agree with Chad, the fact that it's a no-lose move. It really is, because first of all, if you looked at us going into All-Star break, where are our problems? They're in right field with the Grieve, Clark kind of situation, and then third base where we have Helms and Ginter both not picking up the slack. So these are areas we maybe could have someone to step up and at least to compete for at bats. So here's a guy who's been a career minor leaguer. He's been shuffled around. He's been on the Indians 2 different times. He really, the book on him is he really can't hit over 220 at the major league level, and that's a problem. However, if he were given 500 at bats, he could probably average close to 40 home runs, and there's no one on the Brewers with that power maybe outside of Jenkins right now. So just to add someone like that and not having to give up a prospect or any major league quality player, it probably wasn't a lot of cash. It was enough for at least couple of cases of beer, I would assume, or whatever. But
like $6.
But I mean, yeah. No, I think we pay a little more than 6 for Branyan. I'm thinking. But
the only thing I don't like about Russell Branyan is I don't understand why he's batting 4th right away. First of all, he's been a career minor leaguer for the most part. Why would you bat him 4th, especially a guy behind Lionel Overbay who's in the top 10 in batting average, granted, and he's slipping. But why would you bat him ahead of Overbay? At least get some more runners on. Overbay's more consistent getting on base, and then Branyan will be up to bat. I just don't understand why he's batting 4th. That kind of confuses me. It puts a lot of pressure on him, too, I think. I think they should ease him in maybe 5th or 6th right now. I don't understand why he's batting 4th at Overbay. It kind of bothers me a little bit.
I think it's just Yost trying out of desperation to tinker with the lineup and see if something just sparks, and that's not the right answer, though.
I think the perfect spot for him, if we're talking about Ben Grieve and Brady Clark with their on-base percentage, it's perfect to put Brandon right behind him. If these guys are going to be on base, getting with a walk or a cheap single, which seems to be the Brady Clark syndrome, I think having a guy like Brandon there, guys hit a home run every 10 at-bats for his entire career in the majors. He strikes out 40% of the time, too, but at least the 1 in 10 shot.
The strikeouts don't bother him that much. We should also point out that if he were given 500 at bats, he would break the strikeout record because he would. My guess on his 500 at bats season would be hitting 220 with 40 homers, 100 RBIs, and 200 strikeouts. So give and take what you want of how valuable that is. But the strikeouts don't bother me as much as the fact that really, can he hit over 220? If he could hit 260, then wow, there you go. But the fact that he's just coming into his baseball prime, which is going to, in the next few years, why not take a chance on that? He took a chance on Pasednik. That paid off. He was rookie of the year honors. Or he didn't receive the honors, but a runner-up, for rookie of the year.
He got it from every place that mattered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except
And
for
Cole this year
Writers
is
don't
an
know anything.
all-star, like Chad pointed out, and Doug Davis has been phenomenal, and we signed him to a 2-year contract, so now he's part of the future of the team. And these are all guys that we gave up nothing for. And now you can add Randy to that list, and I don't know if that, I can't really hope that he'd have the same effect on the team, and obviously he hasn't currently, but it's a no-lose move, and if he works out, if he works out, if he doesn't,
I think with no real prospect starting at third base next year, I think we're giving Russ Brandon the kind of at-bats we have Wes Helms last year is a perfect idea. Wes Helms, was a journeyman. He's just first base, third base of the Braves, and all of a sudden we get him, give him 500 at-bats, and he produced. I mean, the guy didn't, not phenomenal numbers, but he had almost 80 RBIs,
Yeah.
almost 20 homers, and Russ Brandon will exceed those numbers easily. I would love to watch him play regularly next year.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at it, he was a very cheap version of addressing 3 of our needs: a possible backup outfielder, a backup or whatever third baseman, a new third baseman, and power, which we're totally lacking outside Jenkins or Pasetnik or whatever. So, I mean, it's basically, he was like, if you could, besides the strikeout and low batting and everything, if you could just have a guy who was out there we could acquire that could help out in those spots, I think Brandon would be it. But another thing, you love Brandon or whatever, and I think there's another something, and I like him too, but there's something about a guy like him that I think has some strange appeal to Milwaukee fans. And it's funny because, like, other teams can get excited because their general managers at the trade deadline actually acquire a quality player, and that actually can make a difference. We always seem to take a chance on a guy that just so it's just kind of a move to make a move to get the hardcore fans or even casual ones a little bit more excited. Like, hey, I don't know if this guy's good or not, but it's going to be exciting to at least see him have a Brewer uniform on and get some at bats, and maybe he can spark something. So I think it was like one of those made a move to make it, but it should work out. But also Brandon, he reminds me a lot of, like, obviously I said, like, in the Rob Deere mold, and there's some of these other guys we got, like Bob Hamlin, some kind of strange appeal for Milwaukee.
Joey Meyer.
Franklin
Matt,
Stubbs.
I think he's a lot closer. You say Rob
Matt
Deere. I think
Stairs.
he's a lot closer to an Adam Dunn type than he is to a Rob Deere type. Rob Deere,
Well, that would be
in his
great.
prime, he had 32 homers was high, right? 32 was his high.
Brandon? Or
No, Rob Deere.
Oh, Rob Deere, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's a lot more to a 40 to 50 homer type guy if he gets 500 bats than a 25 homer guy though.
Yeah.
So I mean, the guy's got an unbelievable power. He popped a 480-foot homer his first homer with the Brewers. That's the type of bar that we couldn't dream of out of the rest of the
Well,
team.
comparing him to Adam Dunn is quite an honor because right now I think Dunn's leading the bigs and home runs, and
But I
Brandon
mean,
was
like,
just.
we're talking like Adam Dunn of last year, where he did strike out 180 times. He
Well,
was
Adam
batting
Dunn of last
220.
year is not very good.
But he's still a 220 hitter with hit 30-some home runs. That's something that the Brewers actually could use quite a bit.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but I think he just has a strange fan appeal. What do you guys think about what is it about a guy like Russ Brandon that got people in Milwaukee are like, hey, I like this guy?
Nothing makes me want to say that. But here's the thing, though. Here's what I'm going to say. Nobody's brought this up yet, but this is the big problem. We were also like, we needed power, yeah. We needed third, yeah. We needed another outfielder, I guess. Sure, whatever. But here's the thing that we really, really needed. We needed a right-handed hitter. We don't have any, like, right-handed power at all. They can bring in a situational lefty. That guy can work 3 innings against us. I
But
mean,
the thing is, in the Central Division, where we play most of our games, where are the lefties?
I don't know, man, but they're coming. I mean, well,
Oliver
Pettit's been
Perez
hurt all
kills
year.
us. Yeah.
Now Glenn and Rush all of a sudden decided to be good. I don't know what's up
That's
with
an
that.
insult.
It's called leaving the Brewer syndrome. If you were mediocre, you become very good for some reason.
He's garbage. He'll be garbage. I'm not
And
worried
the bottom
about
line is you just have to trust whatever Doug Melvin's been doing so far. Everything he's touched so far has turned to gold as far as maneuvers. Even the Richie Sexton trade, he picked Capuano. A lot of people, I can't remember the pitcher now, I wish
They
I
want
did.
Casey Fossum.
Yeah, wanted Casey Fossum and said, well, obviously Capuano's turned out to be the better player. Just this little guys that he's gotten over, versus a trade versus guys like Dan Cole, Pasetnik, all those guys. You just have to kind of trust what Doug Melvin's doing. So right now, whatever he does, I'm totally with. Got to totally put your faith in him. And I think, like Brandon said, he just provides a spark. Third base is the weak position right now. We need power. I think it's a no-lose move, basically.
I think. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say that it's exactly what you're saying before, is that the price is right on the guy. I mean, we didn't have to give up anything for him, so it's kind of just a free go. And yeah, it'll solidify the position, but if you're going to do that, I would rather see him maybe get, I don't know, put Overbay in right. Let Kieschnick play first. I mean, Kieschnick has the power too.
Yeah, but he's another
I don't
lefty
think he
too.
can
So that
move.
doesn't really
He's
help
another
him.
lefty too. If you're going to do that, though, why not? Just move him.
We have good history with the Indians, though, in all our trades. So
Yeah.
let's keep it going.
That's a good point. But Kieschnick is basically a very similar to Brandon in the fact that he's someone who appeals in Milwaukee. He's like an everyday Joe type guy who basically swings as hard as he can, and when he does, it's fun, and when he doesn't, oh well, it's just another out.
Exactly.
Apparently, Melvin must think that Branyan is more major league ready than like Corey Hart. That's definitely true.
But with that being said, I think that platoon going in right field for when the rosters expand in September, I think they're going to have to kind of lose some at bats and have a guy like Corey Hart up, and maybe anyone else who might be kind of ready, and get him some major league experience, because this year, we're not in contention anymore. We're not going to be. We should win as many games as possible, of course, but overall, I think they just need to get some more experience with some guys and tinker with some things, and take a chance. A guy like Brandon, maybe he'll work out, maybe he can be part of the team in the future. So right now we're at the stage where we're rebuilding. That's the bottom line, I guess, and this is just another step, another part of the process. So the future will still look bright, just not necessarily 2004 anymore. But I don't know if you guys have anything else to say about that. We can move on to the next topic then. Basically, just last month, former Brewer, of course, Paul Molitor was inducted in the Hall of Fame, and he's the second Brewer to ever go in wearing a Brewer cap. So that's something to definitely talk about, because right now, can you see any current Brewer that has Hall of Fame worthy? No. So it might be a while before we have a summer where another Brewer gets going in with a Brewer cap on. So with that being said, though, some people argue, and I know, Brian, you're one of them, argue about Paul Molitor. Did he deserve to get in the Hall of Fame? I mean, he had 3,300 hits, which is phenomenal, but he did that the second half of his career almost primarily as a DH, and he did not play the field. But the Paul Molitor I remember on the Brewers was the igniter, though, back in the 80s, where you just loved having the guy at the top of the lineup. He was exactly that. His swing, he could wait back on the pitch, swing at the last second, and he had an incredible bat speed, and he would get on base. And that's what if we had someone like that now, which I hate to say it, but Pasenik's not a guy like that. He's not an igniter. He's more, he's not. So anyway, I mean, Molitor, what do you guys think about him as a player? And basically, what do you guys think about the DH? I mean, is it something that's good for baseball? It's adopted only in the American League, not in the National League. And we kind of, as Brewer fans, have a unique perspective, like any other fans of baseball. The fact that we, for a long time, when all of us were younger, the Brewers were in the American League. So we have a good idea of what the DH does to the team. Back in '98, we moved over to the National League, the only franchise ever in history to do such a thing. And then since then, we've not had the DH. We've had pitchers batting. What do you guys think about the difference in the two leagues? Do you guys like the DH? Do you not like the DH? And what do you think about all that?
I think that baseball with the DH is absolutely boring. The managers just put in the lineup, and then that's it for the day. They're in cruise control. In the National League, you have double switches. You have to decide when to pull the pitcher. Today we pulled Capiano on 84 pitches, just because maybe we can get that extra insurance run we wouldn't be able to get with him batting.
Did we?
Oh no, we didn't get the insurance run anyways. But
I'm just curious.
But I mean, that was a decision they had to make.
Oh yeah.
Do we bunt with them? What do we do? And that's something you don't have to deal with in the American League at all.
Yeah.
I think that's an embarrassment.
I like it both ways. I like the DH in the American League. I like not having a DH in the National League. I kind of like the best of both worlds, because you can say, is it boring that the manager sets up his lineup card and it doesn't have to change? But it's also boring every time they walk a number 8 hitter with 2 outs to get to a pitcher. It kind of bores me too. Is that super strategy? Any Joe off the street could tell you to walk Counsell, or who was even Gary Bennett, to get to Ben Sheets or Doug Davis, who only has like 1 or 2 hits all year. So in that way, you can say it's boring also. So I see your strategy. I do like the double switches. I do like things as far as, are we going to pull Capuano, get that insurance run? But then I don't like the things of walking number 8 hitter all the time. So I kind of like the best of both worlds. It does prolong careers, such as a Dave Winfield, who maybe he wouldn't have made the Hall of Fame if it wasn't for that. Paul Molitor, maybe he wouldn't have made the Hall of Fame because of that. But you can't deny that they're not Hall of Famers by the numbers they put up. So in a way, I like DH, in a way I don't. I like the system the way it is. Let's have it in one league and not have it in the other league. I think that's just the best way to go.
I think I can deny the fact those guys deserve to go to the Hall of Fame. I don't think Eddie Murray belongs there. I don't think Paul Molitor deserves to be there.
No, boy.
Paul Molitor is top 10 in hits in all time. You're not going to put him in the Hall of Fame.
Eddie Murray has 3,000 hits and 500 homers. There's not too many.
The numbers are there too, but you have to admit, half those games are coming as a DH. He's not being a complete ball player.
Okay, well, I'll compare a player in our system to possible future Eddie Murray type guy, and that's Prince Fielder. I think I envision him coming to the major leagues, playing first base for 10 years, and then really not having the talent to continue to play in the field, but still being a phenomenal hitter. Now, this is all just guesswork, of course.
Yeah,
but then, but I think he's going to be a phenomenal hitter, so you're going to want him just to get out of the league after 10 years, even though he can
So
still
you're
hit.
setting up a safety net for a guy whose value is depreciating as a baseball player.
No, he's not, because he's still top 8 in hits top 10 in hits all time. How's his value depreciating when he's still getting on base all the time? He was the MVP in the World Series. So how could you say his value was depreciated just because he was DH?
Because he was a complete liability in the field.
But he wasn't on the
absolute
field. He was a DH.
Exactly. That's why his value depreciated, because he could not play in the field.
When you're a
anymore.
World Series MVP, how can your value depreciate?
Because
Well, if
he's
they
not
didn't have the
If there was
DH,
no
Mahler
DH,
wouldn't be a
then
part of
That's
that
why I
DH.
like it in
Because-
both leagues.
Because a guy like Edgar Martinez is going to have stats to go into the Hall of Fame.
I don't think he's a
almost.
Hall of Famer, though.
But why not? If he's a great hitter, everybody says the greatest right-handed hitter of our generation.
Okay,
why would
well,
he not belong in the
do you
Hall
think
of
Mike
Fame?
Piazza's a Hall of Famer?
Mike Piazza right now, because he's the best offensive catcher numbers there is.
But okay, then you're
He's not
contradicting
really a
yourself
catcher,
because you're
though.
calling yourself the best offensive catcher. Now you're just relying just on offense. Now Mike Piazza obviously is not the best defensive catcher in the world, because even your man Russ Branyan stole base off of him. But but he's still a Hall of Famer because he's just an unbelievable catcher. He has the most home runs all
But the
time.
thing
He's
is,
an
catcher-
unbelievable
he's
hitter,
not
but
enough
he's
of a
not an
liability.
unbelievable catcher.
He's not enough of a liability in the field where they can't put him out there.
He actually is a
Paul Molitor-
liability
He is a
in the
huge
field because
liability.
But
he's
not
always,
enough to counteract the fact that they need to bat in the lineup. Paul Molitor was enough of a liability. They had to move him around. They moved for Jim Gantner, who's such a better fielder.
But
And in the end, he couldn't stay healthy. And the only reason he put up the numbers he did, 4 of his 5 best seasons he ever had were as a DH rather than being in the field.
if Mike Piazza was in the AL, do you think he'd be a catcher?
No.
he'd
And
be
the
a
reason
catcher.
why that they have to put him at catcher is
He
because
shouldn't
they
even
have
be
to,
a catcher
because the rules
now.
are set up like that.
But why does Mike Piazza then not want to become a first baseman? Or does not want to become a DH?
He's been willing to be a first baseman all the time. Well, he's under
He's-
contract to the New York Mets. That's why
Yeah.
he can't be a DH.
No, but he still wants to play catcher because he realizes that as
Sure.
a catcher, that's where people see him in history as being the best offensive catcher of all time.
I think he
So,
just takes
but
pride in
he
being a
can
catcher.
barely. He's not going to be able to catch very effectively for very long. People are going to run on him all day, and he's just not going to be a good catcher. So let's say he moves to first base. He's moving a position so basically he's going to still go in the.
He still has
he's
the-
still going to go in the Hall of Fame as one of the best hitting catchers of all time. Even though the second half of his career will have all his at bats at first base.
I mean,
so what
there's
you're
not-
saying is he shouldn't make the Hall
There's
because.
there's not a second half of his career that the guy's already in his mid-30s. He'll be playing first base for maybe 2
But
years.
what age did Paul Molitor turn DH?
Paul
at?
Molitor, after 1991, I think he played the field maybe a handful of games. So we're talking the last 9 years of the guy's
But that's
career.
because he could. I think if Piazza was in the EL, he'd be a DH right now. Maybe sporadically first base, like a Frank Thomas sort. I mean,
But I think in what'd you say?
After 91.
91. I think he was like already in his lower 30s by then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure Molitor was. So I mean, there's similarities. But going back to the difference in the leagues, like personally as a Brewer fan, I never really understood. I grew up watching like you guys did, like the Brewers as an American League team or whatever. And I never really I knew National League teams, but I never got to see enough of National League baseball. When the Brewers turned to the National League, I'm like, this whole brand of baseball, it's a completely different game. And I love it way much. It's better. There's more strategy, like Brian says, for the managers. There's so much more interaction. It's more of a chess match. It not only affects your lineup, but it affects the way that you use your bullpen, big time.
Exactly.
And so it's completely a different game. But with that being said, in some regards, I do like the fact that there's a difference in the leagues. I mean, if I had to vote on it, I would probably vote to make all baseball. To not have the DH, just because I think it's a better brand of baseball and fans deserve that. But in some sense, I like the differences in the league because then you do have you have a league for players that are still great. I think if you're still a great hitter, you're still a great baseball player. That's my opinion. So if you can get traded to an American League team, you can play DH, and you can still contribute to a team, you can be part of the team, and their offense is a main part of the team. I think it's a good thing.
Okay, so Edgar Martinez is getting with a 325 career average. He'll end up with probably 26, 2,700 hits with really good power numbers, good run production.
I don't know if he has
what do
enough
you-
numbers to make the Hall of Fame, and I think that DH thing will work against him. But honestly, I think Edgar Martinez, that's just my personal opinion, but I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame. It's for a number of reasons, because I think he's the most popular Seattle Mariner player ever. He's been a part of the franchise.
Like
and-
Ichiro.
Well, Ichiro, but that's worldwide. I'm just talking about, but of course, yeah, he'll overtake him and stuff. But I mean, for the most part, this is a guy who's like, back with Yount, George Brett, guys who spent their entire career with the same team. He was a fan favorite. He was a clutch hitter. He was always a consistent hitter. And what more do you want from a baseball player? Yeah, but he can't play the field. I still think that there should be a place if you could tell me that if we had to change the system, that there would be no Edgar Martinez for the last 10 years, I think that would kind of be a little bit of a travesty because the guy's a great hitter, and I think baseball needs that. So
Dave Winfield, Paul Molitor. I just like the unique. I think that's why baseball is the best sport around because there's so many uniquenesses in baseball that you don't see in any other sport. The DH, I like it. It separates the American League from the National League. Otherwise, what's really the difference between the two? Why even have two different leagues? Look at the NBA, the West versus the East. Is there any uniqueness there? Who cares? NFL. Who cares between AFC or the NFC? Is there any uniqueness there? They play each other all the time. There's nothing that really separates those divisions. Hockey, there's really no difference either. I think that's why baseball's kind of cool because it has differences, just like the DH, NL versus AL. There's something you can separate in between the two. And that's why I kind of like, you know, maybe it's a wimpy stance, but I like keeping the DH the way it is. Obviously, the Players Union loves it, but just let's keep it going. I like just, you know, players like a Paul Molitor, just careers that do get extended. Frank Thomas could be another one whose career gets extended because he's still a phenomenal, you know, good hitter. You know, why, you know.
A really good point that you made, by the way, about the Players Union because they're the reason why the DH is still around, really. Mm-hmm. I know that some fans are going to want the DH so they can see like Bonds and Sosa for a couple more years when they DH or do whatever because right now they're embarrassing themselves in the field, but they're fine with that. But the thing is that, I mean, the DH really, really becomes important when it comes to like playoffs, like World Series. Well, World Series is really the only one because that's when AL plays NL. And it's a problem then. I mean, there's obviously, it seems to me that NL pitchers, obviously they're going to hit a lot better. So when they're at home or whatever and they're hitting, well, that's big because AL pitchers, there's some of them that they've never hit in their lives and they never will. Mm-hmm. And some of them, I guess some of them exist in the National League on our team, in fact. But
it's also, it's unfair the other way. Look at it too. If a team like the Red Sox makes the World Series this year, and if they have a guy just sitting at DH like David Ortiz is probably the top 5 offensive player in the league right now. Which that's something that most National League teams wouldn't have. They just wouldn't have an extra fielder or something like that that could put up that kind of production.
But they might have a deeper bullpen than too. It all goes back to strategy. I mean, it all depends.
I really think it just makes the leagues different. And I really like the fact that like baseball, it's America's pastime, it's America's game. It really reflects the way America is. And I think that's why it's cool to have a difference like that because this is basically so people like us can have a discussion whether or not you like it or not. It's one of those things where like everyone in the country's got an opinion on something, and it's cool to be able to have you know, you're entitled to your opinion on one side or another. So it's kind of like a partisan way to divide baseball, and in some ways the country mirrors that a little bit. So I think that's kind of a neat thing about it, that people can like it or they can not like it, but there's something there to offer. You can root for a National League team, you can root for an American League team, or you can lobby to maybe get the DH, you know, it's your right to lobby to maybe try to get it eventually taken out of baseball if that's your opinion. So I think right now I kind of like how it is, and I like the fact that people are opinionated about the stuff, and you know, and there's valid points on either side. So it's just all a matter of the way you look at things.
So we're split 2-2. I said dump it.
I'm not voting.
No, you said you liked it.
I like it in both leagues.
All right, that's perfect. So you want to keep the DH? That's good.
in the American League only.
Yeah. All right.
But I mean, I didn't necessarily vote for the DH either. If I was the commissioner, I said I like how it is, but if I wanted all base, I really do like the brand of National League Baseball way better. So whether or not I would lobby to make it happen or not, it would all depend on things. But I kind of like the status quo right now. So. We'll see. But with that being said, going back to Molitor, I very much believe that Molitor deserved to make the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's a lot based on numbers, but the guy had the talent. If it wasn't for injuries, he would have been able to play in the field the whole year.
4,000
I mean his whole career or whatever, and he would have played more games and had even better numbers. So I mean, you can't argue against that. And I mean, of course, a little bit of Brewer bias, but I don't think you can really argue against Molitor deserving to make the Hall of Fame. I mean, you can, but you know, I don't agree with it.
You know what really sucks? I mean, it's not about Molitor, but when you have a guy like Edgar Martinez or something like that, well, what if Seattle would have made the series that year? Great, Edgar Martinez. Oh, for 3 or 4 games out of the World Series, you get to pinch hit. Good game. That sucks. He's one of your best players, you know, and you can't play him.
It's one of those. That's one thing they do need to fix when they get the World Series or in the All-Star game, like that difference. Like, well, that's a drawback of having the DH because then in the World Series, you don't. Yeah, it's also advantage.
Huge home field advantage. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the National League gets the home field advantage when they have the pitchers have the bat because.
Yep, exactly.
That's not really an advantage for either team, honestly.
Well, I
There
don't
aren't so
think
many pitchers
the AL managers are as used to managing bullpens, and they probably don't have as much depth in their bullpen because they have last the whole year in the American
And I
League.
don't think the AL batters or AL pitchers are taking batting practice every day like the NL pitchers do. They do
No.
take batting practice.
Not that there's
every
a
day.
ton of quality
But if
National
you,
League
if you
hitting
look at the
pitchers.
interleague games, though, when both pitchers bats, the numbers are not that much different from the National League and the American League.
But look at a team like the Cubs, though. Mark Pryor's a great hitter. Kerry Wood's a great hitter.
But
I
when
mean,
you say-
that's a
but
great
when you say-
advantage to their team.
When you say
come
great hitter,
playoff time.
Kerry Wood's batting 130 right now. So I mean, that's not really.
Well, for a pitcher, he's going to be better than
Yeah.
when the Red Sox
He
got to
contributes
offer.
at
And
least.
over his career, he is a very good hitter for a pitcher. And obviously, Mark Pryor has been a great hitter. Minor leagues his whole career in baseball. He's been
And the
great.
Braves always used to be very competitive. All their guys are very talented.
Mike Hampton.
One guy I wish pitched in the National League because I'd love to see him hit is Mark Mulder. The guy just
yeah.
excels at everything. He'd probably be like a 330 hitter and he can 25-game winner or something.
Hey,
That guy's
Catalano
amazing.
was hitting
Of
lights
course,
out.
You have a man crush on Mark Mulder.
Hey, your boy Overmueller's a good hitter.
Well, Overmiller is a good hitter, actually.
He's your guy, right?
Yeah, he is.
No.
Okay, this segment's deteriorating, so we're going to wrap that up. We're going to come to our next segment, and we're going to have this will be a special moment because we're going to induct our first 2 Brewers ever and the official Brewer Crew Review Hall of Shame. So let's take a little break right now. When we come back, we're going to be doing that.
I thought love was only true in fairy tales, and for someone else, but not for me.
Oh, welcome back to the Brewer Crew Review. Next, we have a very special segment, first time ever. Basically, this segment's going to be called the Brewer Hall of Shame. And each segment, each time we have an episode of the Brewer Crew Review, we're going to induct at least a couple more Brewers into the Hall of Shame. There's quite a large roster to choose from over the years. The Brewers have been in existence for over 30 years, and there's been quite a few players that unfortunately have brought shame upon the organization. And so we're going to honor them with our segment. And so basically, this was, of course, a democracy, so we took a vote and had people vote for who they thought should be inducted into the Brewer Hall of Shame. And the 2 top vote getters are tonight's inductees, the first ever. And we'll start off with the top vote getter, and that was Jeffrey Hammonds, who was signed by Dean Taylor in 2000, I believe, or 2000, before the 2001 season, as the Brewers moved into their new stadium at Miller Park. And let's go around the room and kind of explain why you think that shame was brought upon by this player to the Brewer organization. Let's start over here with Chad, maybe.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious why the man brought shame to the organization. He had one of the biggest contracts. Did he make the most annual money ever as a Brewer?
3 years,
8.5
21 million, I believe.
Almost. So basically, obviously, his production, always being injured. He did have a bobblehead, though.
He did have a bobblehead.
So
Anyone
maybe-
can get a
That's part of the shame.
That is part of the shame. And they gave it away after we released them, too. But that's another topic. But I don't think there's any reason to mention why Jeffrey Hammonds is in the Hall of Shame. It's pretty obvious.
Jeffrey Hammonds wins the Jason Caffey Award for looking like an absolute athlete. The guy looks like he should be an all-star, and just never turned out. He was a big prospect of the Orioles. He's turned into a complete loser. There's no good reason the Brewers should ever mention him again.
Is he still with Frisco?
I think they cut him.
Okay, well, this was a signing, and it really was the Jeffrey Hammond single-handedly brought down the Dean Taylor regime. And I thought he was a decent general manager, and it was a move that the Brewers had to make. They had to sign a free agent going into their new park, and our track record of signing free agents is below poor. Let's put it that way. It's been very bad. So I recommend not signing free agents as much as possible because they always blow up in our face. But none on the scale of Jeffrey Hammonds. How this guy brought shame to the Brewers was the fact that we signed him to a 3-year, $21 million contract. And it was an escalating. His first year, $6 million, I think, then 8, then 9 or something.
Yeah. It was something
But
ridiculous.
anyway, his last 2 years he made the most. And this is a guy who had one breakout year in Colorado.
And that
Just
wasn't
before
that
he
good
was
of a breakout
30, he
year.
was like 20,
Yeah.
and where everyone hits.
His
And we're
breakout
like,
year was 24 home runs in Colorado.
He stole some bases, but
classic underachiever up to the age of 30. We sign him expecting something to be plugged in the middle of our lineup at the time when we had Jenkins, Sexton, and Burnett still. Plug Hammonds in there, and here we go. We got Milwaukee's version of Murderers Row, and not to mention the pitching at the time. But, I mean, basically, Jeffrey Hammonds, he had a horrible first year, did not stay healthy the second year very much. I think he was a little healthier the second year, but not good numbers at all for a starting right fielder. I believe he had less than 10 home runs and a lot of at-bats, probably 400 at-bats. Third year, again, just not stayed healthy. And we at least, bit the bullet and cut the man. Ate his $9 million or whatever was remaining on his contract that year, which I was proud of the Brewers for doing that because this is not a guy you want around anymore. Let's just move on and, bygones be bygones. At least so I thought. However, the Milwaukee Brewers, a quality organization, of course, they had Jeffrey Hammond's bobblehead days scheduled for that year. They cut the man, I think, sometime in June, and his bobblehead day was in July or August, and fans were treated with, of course, the symbol of shame. Jeffrey Hammond's bobblehead doll, however many 20,000 fans probably received those, and just, as a symbol of shame that Jeffrey Hammond's brought on to the Brewer organization. Scott, what do you think?
First of all, when we saw how he played the first 2 years, or basically how he didn't play, because if he wasn't sucking, he was hurt. But here's the thing. Why do you schedule that in August? Why on earth do you do that? Are you serious? I mean, he is not going to be here. If he is, he's going to be garbage. We couldn't even trade the guy because he sucks so much. He was so overpaid. He was absolute garbage.
I was always worried he would go on the deal again if he had to, sign his $9 million check.
Well, he never played more than 120 games a year, I think, his whole career.
Yeah, he has a breakout year, and he's gone for a quarter of the year.
Yeah.
Great. Congratulations. Beware the small sample.
So it was a mistake, but the Brewers have moved on. It's in the past. But again, basically,
Somebody
it was a
writes that on
time.
Brewers
It was a
fan
time
dot net,
when
I think.
Miller Park opening up, people get fired up about Brewer baseball for the first time in a long time, and then this happens, and we're just spinning wheels for a few years while we're building our minor leagues. So again, rebuilding. Thank you very much,
But
Jeffrey
maybe
Hammond.
Hammonds was a good thing because it got rid of Dean Taylor, brought in Doug Melvin. So maybe he's a hero.
Yeah.
The thing is that when Dean Taylor needed to make a signing, he needed to say, hey, guess what? I'm here, and I'm ready, and this is what we're going to do, and this is the Dean Taylor way. And, oh, man,
I
just
think
attached
he was doing a good
himself
job,
to Hammond.
and it was one of those things where he was probably instructed, hey, you got to sign a big name free agent. We're going into the new park. So he went out there. Who were available free agents? There were probably some decent ones that year, but hey,
They all balked at us.
none of them wanted to sign with the Brewers, this organization that's known for losing, except a guy like Hammonds, who no one else probably wanted to sign for the money he was asking. So anyway, we'll move on from that, but congratulations, Jeffrey Hammonds. You're our first induction into the Brewer Hall of Shame. So on to induction number 2, and I'm not, again, someone from played a few years for us most recently, and that was our shortstop, Jose Hernandez, who, given the benefit of the doubt, he was an all-star for us. The year that the all-star game was held at Miller Park, 2002, he actually made the all-star team. So there was some highlights to his tenure with the Brewers, but there were certain instances which I believe led to quite a bit of shame for the Brewer organization. Scott, why don't we start over with you, and how do you think Jose Hernandez brought shame to the Brewers?
He brought shame because he just couldn't hit. He couldn't even make contact. I mean, yeah, that's pretty shameful. I mean, having said that, he played an all right defense. I mean, he had a huge target to throw to with Sexton, and he didn't embarrass himself on the field that much. He was a pretty good defensive shortstop, actually. He put up decent numbers for a shortstop, which is why he made the all-star team. But having said all that, oh my God, way too many strikeouts. Just a ton.
Okay, I'll go next, and we'll go this way. Basically, the time we had him, he was one of our better players. He made the All-Star team. He could hit. He had some power for his position at shortstop. I mean, overall, you can't really blame the guy too much. And like I said before, the Russ Barrington thing, the strikeouts don't bother me all that much. Mm-hmm. I love Rob Deere, one of my favorite Brewers of all time, so that doesn't bother me as much. However, the area where I think he got this vote and is getting this induction to our Hall of Shame here is the fact that how he went about stopping playing to try to avoid being the all-time single-season strikeout record holder. And, of course, that's not something you want. However, the year that he was going to break that record is last year with the Brewers. The last year Dean Taylor was the general manager. He was on pace to break that record, and basically he sat down for, I believe it was like the last 2 weeks of the season. And of course, this was, but there was he was healthy, completely healthy, whatever, but he just decided he didn't want to break this record, so he sat in the middle of otherwise decent season for him. And to me, that's shameful. It's like, why do you do that? Just to avoid having a record. So that particular instance, to me, I was very embarrassed about it. I mean, it called attention to the Brewers from the national media, and it's like, okay, that's totally shameful. So that's my personal reason why I would vote for him into this Hall of Shame.
I think when he was an All-Star, and it was the only reason he was an All-Star because the game was in Milwaukee. It's pretty much just a token gesture to us. Just let us have another All-Star, get another, applaud our own guy. That 185 strikeouts one year, 188 the next. I mean, sit out 2 weeks just to not break a strikeout record. If that's the way you play the game, I mean, be unapologetic about it. Just go about your business. If you're going to strike out 200 times, you strike out 200 times and do what you can with the bat. And I think for him to sit down to avoid breaking the record was an absolute mockery of what baseball should be.
I agree. Exactly.
I got to wash my hands of Jose Hernandez being in the Hall of Shame. Actually, I think he's a player that we could really use right now. If you look at his stats in 2001, he led the Brewers in batting with runners in scoring position. He batted .413. He had 4 doubles. He led the team in RBIs. In 2002, he batted .280. He was second in hits, second in doubles, second in RBIs, and second in homers with runners in scoring position. So both the years here he produced. Granted, yeah, he did sit down, but how much of that had to do with Jerry Royster, too? I mean, what kind of managerial, power is that to just let him sit down? I mean, Jose Hernandez, there's a stat in the Baseball Encyclopedia in year 2002, and I said he was a token All-Star that year, but there's a stat called batter, fielder, base, stealer wins, where all the combinations of batting, fielding, and stealing led to wins. Jose Hernandez had a positive 4.1 wins. Now, there was only one other Brewer on the whole team that had a positive number, and that was Sexton with 1.9. Everyone else was negative. So, I mean, Jose Hernandez was, he was an outstanding contributor to our team, and I just don't see how, the man was an all-star. His strikeout percentage was bad, but sometimes, like I said, strikeouts aren't the worst thing in the
Strikeout
world.
percentage is actually the worst in Major League Baseball history for any with the amount of bats that are necessary.
But Jose Hernandez strikes out 30% of the times entering the season this year. Russell Brandon's 40% of the time.
Exactly.
So you can't have it both ways.
He's completely unapologetic about it.
It's
The fact what brings shame to the team is that the reason that we had to sit him is because every game, the fans were actually coming out to see Jose Hernandez just for the fact that they wanted to boo him when he struck out.
But
I
I
mean,
just don't think
or
it's
cheer for him when he struck out.
Yeah, I mean, they were cheering for him every strikeout.
How can you put a guy in the Hall of Shame? Year 2001, he was third in multi-RBI games, third in multi-hit games, third in the team in home runs, third in the team in RBIs, third in the team in walks.
But
And then
that
2002
was a year the Brewers had. Was that the year they had over 100 losses or
Yeah.
close to 100 losses? So
But
I mean, they
still.
weren't a successful team that year. In fact, I think that was the year they broke the all-time as a team strikeout record, the most strikeouts ever. And even though I said that's not usually a problem, for us that year, since we lost almost 100 games, it was a problem. Everyone in our lineup was striking out, and it was led by Jose Hernandez. And
Well, in 2002, the team batted .253. Jose Hernandez batted .288, second in the team in homers, second in the team in multiple RBI games, third on the team multiple hits.
And he actually brought the
Tied
seats
for second
together
team in
just
walks.
to boo him.
How many homers did he have? Do you know? I mean, I don't
He
know.
had
He has
24 home
24.
runs. Richie Sexton had 29. So, I mean, how can you put a guy like that in the Hall of Shame? In 2 years he was here, he was like one of the top 3 guys on the
The thing
team
that's
offensively.
shameful is-
And his defense, I thought, was above average. His errors came actually weird, where they were just like the routine plays. It seemed like he made the errors, but he made a lot of phenomenal plays at shortstop. I just can't see how you could.
But he also had an opportunity in the All-Star game, I think more than one opportunity to actually win the game for the National League here at his hometown, Miller Park. And I was pulling for him, of course, and again, more shame brought upon
More shame.
the organization.
On a
But
national stage.
and of course,
won that game?
That whole. All right, shut.
Oh,
You gotta be quiet
oh,
now. No, just kidding.
Ouch.
Again, and maybe Steely could make this list at some point for that debacle. But anyway, Jose Hernandez contributed to the shame of that game too. But overall, I do agree with Chad. He put up decent numbers, and for a shortstop now today, he would be putting up better numbers than any Brewer that's doing. However, I just think as a teammate, as a guy you want on your team, Jose Hernandez is not that type of guy, at least on a team if I was GMing. And that's part of the reason. And I voted for him, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But those will be our first 2 inductions. As a majority vote, they got the most votes from some pretty diehard Brewer fans. So, all right, let's wrap up this segment, and then we'll wrap up today's show by doing our first installment. We didn't have time for it last time since we yapped quite a bit. Is for the Brewer Trivia Challenge. And you guys were also saying that, before we wrap up this segment, because the next segment will just be fun, that you wanted maybe to get some, if anyone wants to email in questions to our email, it's a brewcrewreview@yahoo.com. Brian's got something special for him.
The question of the week, the one that we think is either the best question, the one that makes us laugh the most, whatever it is, will actually win 2 tickets to the Brewer game on September 14th against the Giants. So I don't know if you guys like to perhaps attend a game since you're watching the show. Drop us a line, send us a question. If we choose you, get 2 tickets to the game.
We should really mention that at the beginning of the show because a lot of people are probably really bored by now.
They probably
They
turned us
probably
off
already
long
changed
ago.
the channel.
Yeah,
But-
oh well.
Well,
Live
Bartel,
in
you're
the-
not reaching the female demographic very well.
I'm not reaching any demographic. The only thing I'm reaching for is my ice cold drink.
Right?
Well, come
All
see
right.
Barry Bonds at his 700th home run on September 14th.
So yeah, email some questions if you have them, and we'll pick out, if we pick your question, then Brian's got some tickets for you. We'll get those to you.
What was that email again?
That was the Brew Crew Review at yahoo.com. Brew Crew Review at yahoo.com.
And you've seen it on the bottom of your screen for most of the show. So
Yes.
Really?
let's wrap up this segment,
Cool.
as well as fun and interesting stats
Some
about
technology
Scott
wonderful.
here. But anyway, let's wrap up this segment, and we'll do the Brewer Trivia Challenge coming right up.
I thought love was only true in fairy tales, and for someone else, but not for me.
All right, welcome to our brand new segment called the Brewer Trivia Challenge, and we've got 3 contestants here today. We've got Chad, Brian, and Scott, and they're going to battle for brewer knowledge supremacy here. And basically how it works is we're going to have a couple of rounds. Rounds worth 1 point and then 2 points, and then we'll have a final question where you can bet what you have. And basically to buzz in, they got to hit their Bobble Heads on the head, and whoever buzzes in first gets their choice of the question. So Chad's going with Jenkins. Good choice for Brian. He's got Sheets and Prince Fielder, the up-and-coming Scott. All right,
Yeah.
Here we go. Ready with the first round and the first question. Now you have to keep your back. The other rule, you have to keep your back on the back of the chair until I've given the last choice, because each of these have option too.
You got it, Craig.
So yeah. And if someone gets it wrong, we'll give the answer. But if you do get it wrong, you get negative points. Okay, here we go. The Milwaukee Brewers franchise was born in what year?
1971.
That's actually not right.
All right. Now both of you guys get negative points because you didn't follow the rules.
Yeah, that's
No,
what
we'll
I thought.
start-
First place. No, you can't start over. I'm in the lead.
He got it wrong.
Cut the tape.
We'll just keep going here. We'll start over, but listen to the rules.
Whoa.
I'm going to give choices A, B, C, and D. You have to wait until I've given the choice for D,
okay.
and then after I've given the choice for D, then you can buzz in.
Okay.
So am I still winning?
No.
No, you're not.
I'm playing the rest of this game under protest.
You're generally losing.
I'm playing
Okay,
this
here we
game
go.
under
Still
protest.
loser.
He was wrong.
So, and unfortunately, your
was
guess wasn't one of the choices.
1977.
Here are the choices. What year was the Milwaukee Brewers franchise born?
Oh,
A, 1967, B, 1968, C, 1969, or D, 1970?
1970.
Chad?
1970.
That's actually incorrect.
Oh.
I guess, and this was news to me too, but apparently it was born in 1969.
Oh, okay.
So we'll just start with a -1 there. All right, and on to the next question.
So when Chad's negative, he doesn't get to go to the bonus round, right?
No.
Okay, here's a question
You do anyway.
from the 80s. This Hall of Famer won the 1982 season finale. A, Cooper, B, Sutton, C, Thomas, or D, Molitor? And Brian?
Sutton.
Yes. Sutton who?
It was Don Sutton.
Yes, Hall of Fame pitcher for the Brewers, and those were terrible choices, but quite easy. So Brian's got 1 point. All right, let's move on. What player had a record-breaking active homerless streak of 1,762 at-bats that
Can we
ended in
just guess right now?
1991?
Okay.
A, Yount, B, Gantner, C, Cooper, or
can't do
D, Vaughn?
Gantner.
Brian was disqualified for moving his back.
That's what I thought.
You said
But
that-
Scott, you were still
you said
too
after-
slow.
You said after the choice you could press it.
Oh, after the last choice. Sorry.
Yeah, you
We're still
You
learning.
knocked over the bobblehead, isn't that disqualified?
Anyway, Chad,
You broke the bobblehead.
Jim Gander.
Jim Gander is a correct question, so you're back up to 0.
Minus points?
I was at that game.
Okay, we're back up to 0. Let's move on. We got to
Didn't he
go a
hit
little
homers
faster.
in back-to-back games then
Let's go.
to break the streak?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
No.
the Brewers have recorded 81 Grand Slams in their 28 years in Milwaukee. What Brewer holds the title for most Grand Slams? A. Yount, B. Gantner, C. Cooper, or D. Vaughn?
It's Cecil Cooper.
That's correct. Ding, ding, ding. Brian, you're up to 2 points.
Grats.
All right. Ben Greaves' father, Tom, is a broadcaster for which team? A. Colorado, B. Houston, C. Kansas City, or D. Texas? Chad.
Texas?
That's correct, Texas.
That's why I was
Chad's
saying
up to
that.
1 point, so it's Brian 2, Chad 1, and Scott still not on the board.
He's just
Okay,
one.
so
Keep it in.
here we go with another question.
Please do not question my manhood on television.
You get enough of that when the cameras aren't rolling. Okay,
Yeah,
here we go.
thanks.
Who won Game 7 of the 1957 World Series for the Milwaukee Braves? A. Warren Spahn, B. Lou Burdette, C. Bob Bowl, or D.
Buell.
Gene Conley?
It's Lou Burdette.
That's correct, Bryant.
Man,
Takes a commanding 3-1-0 lead. All right, here we go. Before Sexton, what Brewer held the record for most walks based on balls in a single season? Was it A. John Jaha, B. Rob Deere, C. Gorman Thomas, or D. Paul Molitor? Okay, we got
I'll
5
guess.
seconds.
I'm just gonna guess.
I'll guess Jaha.
And you were incorrect. -1 for Shot. It was Gorman Thomas.
Yeah, I want to guess.
What Brewer has the most doubles in his, for a single season? These are single season. The highest slugging percentage and the most extra base hits. Is it A. Yount, B. Deere, C. Gantner, or D. Jaha?
Is this a single season?
Yes, in a single season. Scott.
I'll guess Yount.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, Scott, back to 0 for you.
Who's who
It's
and
like I
what's
thought it was
what?
Yount. Worried about
Yeah. Okay.
that weird 34 hours.
What two Brewers, obviously recently the Brewers had 2 representatives at the All-Star game in 2002 with Sexton and Jose Hernandez. What 2 Brewers played on their home turf in Milwaukee County Stadium for the 1975 All-Star game? Choices are A. Hank Aaron and George Scott, B. Mike Caldwell and Hank Aaron, C. Jim Slayton and Cecil Cooper, or D. Sal Bando and Don Money?
That's A.
Brian. It is A. Hank Aaron and George Scott. Brian's got 4 points, Chad's on the board with 1, and Scott's back to 0. All right, let's move along
This
here.
is rough. This is really rough.
Scott, you're horrible.
All right, one more 1-point question, we're going to move on to the
Just wait till the
2-pointers.
next round. I'll be there.
What Brewer scored the most runs in a single season? A. Gorman Thomas, B. B.J. Surhoff, C. Robin Yount, or D. Paul Molitor? Chad.
Paul Molitor?
Paul Molitor, that's correct. He had 136 runs in 1982, which is still a Brewer record. So Chad's on the board with 2. Brian with 4 has the lead. Scott, you're coming in at 0, but we're going to go on to our next round. We're going to have a 2-point round, and so stay tuned for that.
I thought love was only true in fairy tales, and for someone else, but not for me.
Okay, we've got Brian with 4, Chad with 2 points, Scott with 0, and now let's move into our second round. It's a 2-point round. So these are a little bit more difficult questions, or so they say. Okay, what division did the Brewers originally play in? A, the AL East, B, the AL West, C, the NL East, or D, the NL West? The Brewers originally play in.
AL West?
Chad. That's correct. 2 points for Chad. He's up to 4. Back when they first became into the American League in 1970, it was the AL West, which was first after a short period of time they switched to the AL East. All right, next hard question. Before Danny Kolb, what Brewer pitcher had the most consecutive save opportunities of 25 in a row? Was it A, Bob Wickman, B, Doug Jones, C, Chris Bosio, or D, Lockwood?
That's Doug Jones.
That's right, Doug Jones at 25 back in his, I think, was that his only year with the Brewers?
60 mile per hour fastball.
That's right. All right, 6 points for Chad. He's got the lead. Let's go on another 2-point question. Who was the only Brewer to ever hit an inside the park grand slam? A, Mike Felder, B, Ben Ogilvy, C, Charlie Moore, or D, Ned Yost?
Oh, it's between two guys.
It's Ben Ogilvy.
It is Ben Ogilvy. Good job, Brian. So
So
you're up to 6. We've got 6 for Brian, 6 for Chad, and
Scotty pulling
Scott,
through.
are you still awake?
How many questions do we have left?
Not enough.
Not enough for you to, well, let's get going
They're
here, Scott.
2-point questions.
All right, here we
I'm ready
go.
to make my move.
He's laying in the weeds.
What Brewer pitcher has the most appearances ever in a single season? The number of appearances was 83, and the choices are Chuck Krim, Bob Wickman, Ken Sanders, or Doug Jones. I think that was
Oh,
Brian.
my
Ken Sanders.
Okay, that's correct. Ken
Poor
Sanders.
Bobble Heads.
And that was very, very close. We might have to have a photo finish on that, but
I got it. I know I did.
Eight points for Brian, 6 for Chad. Everyone's still in the game, almost everyone. All right, here we go. And then the next question. How many Brewers have started in an All-Star game? Is it A5?
Does it count this year?
This is all time.
We didn't know anything.
Yes,
No one's
it
started.
counts
Yeah,
this year. B6, C7, and D8.
Come on, Scott.
6.
You're right, Scott. Time with
Get
2.
to thank God.
Staying alive. All right.
Parents.
That was a dumb guess.
Okay, how long was
Why?
the longest game ever played by the Brewers at County Stadium? No, they beat the White Sox in this 6-hour game. But
be there again.
how many innings was it? Was it A 17, B 18, C 19, or D 20 innings? Scott?
20?
Nope, incorrect. We're back to 0.
Oh, I thought they
Actually,
had a game
that's
over
incorrect
20
as well.
innings.
I refrain from guessing.
Okay, the correct answer was 19.
Nice.
So we've got 4 for Chad, 8 still for Brian.
They
and
had one
Scott
more than
back
that,
to
though, but it was
0,
on the
unfortunately.
road, right?
23. Yeah.
Yeah,
Harold Baines, yeah.
so it was a little
Yeah.
tough. Okay,
lost.
here's a good one. What was current Brewer Craig Counsell's major in college? Was it A, accounting, B, communications, C, computer science, or D, marketing? Am I going to take a shot on that one?
No.
Brian.
A.
Accounting, you got it. Lucky guess, I would say. Okay, Brian's up to 10. 10, 4-0, and let's keep moving on here.
This is
Get a couple
awful.
more questions in. Again, this one's about another current Brewer, Ben Sheets. Who is Ben Sheets' favorite musician? Is it A, Toby Keith, B, Tim McGraw, C, Clay Walker, or D, Vince Gill?
Oh, jeez.
So we got 5, 4, 3, 2, and the answer is C, Clay Walker.
Really?
That's a good one.
Oh, I have no idea who Clay Walker is.
No. I don't listen to country.
That's a good one.
Okay, let's move
One
on.
more
We need a
question.
couple more to give Scott a chance here. Okay, what pitcher is the only pitcher to have thrown a one-hitter at County Stadium? Now, this can be for Brewers or non-Brewers. The only pitcher to ever throw a one-hitter at County Stadium. A, Randy Johnson, B, Teddy Higuera, C, Steve Bushby, or D, Nolan Ryan?
I am
Scott.
going to guess Bushby.
And you are correct, Scott. That was a big move by you. You got 2 points, so you're on the
Do
board.
you know when that happened?
It does not say here, but it was in the 70s.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Here's another one. We'll do a couple more. What Brewer has the most singles one-base hits in a single season? Was it A, Jeff Cirillo, B. Rob Deere, C. Gorman Thomas, or D. Cecil Cooper?
He said Gorman
Give Scott.
Thomas.
Just give it to Scott. Scott's behind. Let him answer it.
All right, Scott. I think you did chime in first on that one.
Yeah, I thought so too, actually. What were the choices? I don't even remember. They were all power hitters except for I guess
Cirillo,
then.
Deere, Thomas, or Cooper.
I guess Cirillo then.
And that is incorrect. So I'm sorry, Scott. Chad 7. Cecil Cooper is the correct answer.
He's the only
so we
other
got
one that
Chad
couldn't
6,
even be
Brian
close.
10, back to 0 for Scott. All right, Scott needs another one. You better get ready to chime in here. Running out of time. Questions. All right.
Amazing.
Ridiculous.
You broke that bobblehead.
Okay. Again, I got about a current brewer. What was Scott Posednik's best event in high school track and field? Was it A, 200 meters, B, 1,600 meters, C, 5,000 meters, or D, high jump? Better take a stab, Jeff.
August 1200.
That wasn't a choice.
Okay, what were the
The
choices?
first choice is the first 200.
200?
Yeah.
Well, he's pretty quick sprinter-wise, so I'll say 200.
200 is correct, Scott. We'll give you that one. So you got 2 points.
If they had a 1200, that would have been his best, though. I'm pretty
Okay.
certain.
So let's finish up this round, and then we'll do a final brewer question, and you can bet as much as you have. And Scott, you have 2. Chad, you have 6. And Brian, you have 10. So we'll take a quick, short break while you guys write down what you want to bet, and then we'll have the final question, and we'll wrap up the show for today.
I thought love was only true in fairy tales, and for someone else, but not for me.
Okay, we're back at Brewers Trivia Challenge, and we're here to start the last round. Again, just to recap, Brian's got the lead with 10 points. Chad in second with 6. He's still got a chance. And Scott's got 2. He's going to go through the motions here. And so the question here, and how this segment works, you've written down how much you want to wager, and then you can write the letter that you think the answer is on a piece of paper, and we'll reveal those and go around and see who the ultimate champion is for
I'm gonna
today.
write my answer and break.
All right, so here's the question. What brewer holds a record for the most stolen bases in one game? Is it A, Jeremy Burnitz, B, Kevin Seitzer, C, Fernando Vina, or D, John Jaha?
Oh, cool.
Once again, I'll repeat that one more time. What Brewer player holds a record for most stolen bases in one game? A, Jeremy Burnitz, B, Kevin Seitzer, C, Fernando Vina, or D, John Jaha? All right. A, Burnitz, B, Seitzer, C, Vina, or D, Jaha?
I want to change my answer.
All right. So we're going to get ready to reveal our final answer, and we'll start with the lowest score and have you guys reveal as you go. Scott, first of all, how much did you, or no, I guess, what's your answer? Was it, what's your answer?
I guessed A.
You guessed A, which would be
Burnitz.
Jeremy Burnitz, which would be wrong. How much did you wager there,
Oh,
Scott?
it was the other fat guy. I
How
bet.
How much did you wager, Scott?
I guess I only wagered 0 or 1.
No, you didn't. It says here you wagered 2, Scott.
That might be a
You're going to finish with 0. Okay. Moving on. Chad's next. Chad's next. Okay, so
Unbelievable.
Chad, what, C, your answer is Fernando Vina, and unfortunately that is also incorrect. How much did you wager there, Chad?
5, I think.
5. Okay, that brings it down to 1, which will leave you in a most likely second place. We'll see what Brian. Brian, did you go for it all? How much did you? Or basically, what's your guess?
I also said Jeremy Burnitz, and I'm wrong.
Jeremy
It was
is also
Jaha.
wrong. And of course, the answer is John Jaha, who had 4 stolen bases in a game. I do not remember this.
I knew it was one of the fat guys.
But how much did you wager, Brian? Wager 2, which only brings you down to 8. It's still so Brian is declared the Brewer Trivia Challenge champion for the very first episode. So. All right, well, that wraps up our show, the Brew Crew Review for today. And again, thanks for joining us, guys. And remember, if you want to win tickets to a Brewer game in September, email us a question, and the winner of the question will answer your question on the next episode, and we'll somehow get you your 2 tickets. So, and that email address again is brewcrewreview@yahoo.com. So, all right, well, thanks for joining us.
Keep sending that fan mail too. We get a lot of it, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, send in a fan mail, and remember, ladies, though, Scott is off the market, unfortunately. So
It's true. I'll still reply though. I'm not like
okay.
that.
All right, well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here, guys, and we'll see you in a few more weeks with another episode of the Brew Crew Review.
I thought love was only true in fairy tales, and for someone else, but not for me. Our love was out to get me. That's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. I thought love was more or less a given thing. Seems the more I gave, the less I got. What's the use in trying? And all you get is pain. When I needed sunshine, I got rain. Oh, then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer.